Oh, hey guys, how you doing? Today we're going to talk about a knife that has a history that goes farther back than the barlow knife. It's one of the most popular patterns that were ever produced in the world, and it's a pattern that will probably be around when the barlow is long gone, and quite an amazing type of knife. But I wonder if you could think of what knife we're going to be talking about today.
No, you need me to read it for you? I know what Red Lobster has.
Yeah, that's silly. Do you have my $3?
Hey, how we doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for asking.
Hey, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Hi, all my viewers. Bonjour, privet, guten tag, hola, ciao, konnichiwa. Good day, mate, to my foreign viewers. I appreciate all of you. I wonder how many of you guessed what knives we're going to be talking about today. Can you guess now? It's not this knife right here, although this is one of the most famous patterns in the world, one of the most replicated patterns in every country in the world, the barlow. What a fantastic knife. Came into being in the late 1600s, mass produced early in the 1700s. A fantastic little EDC knife that's made many a boy ecstatic, because this is the type of knife that they used to give to boys, but men found these knives pretty handy too, and pretty famous knife. But there's one that'll probably exceed both the age and the durability of this knife right here, and that is the pruner. That's right, guys, a pruner. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it? We're going to talk about that. All right, before we talk about that, we're going to talk about this, and that this is this right here. We're going to talk about not that. We're going to talk about what I'm going to talk about, which is the live show tomorrow at Tuesday, May 7th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Patty's Potato Peeler will be there. Hopefully, he'll be there. And we're going to talk about a broad subject. Are we too critical? And we're going to narrow that down, that little subject down a little closer. And we're going to be talking about how knives are made. Modern knives, how modern knives are made, and how that differs from how they were made back in yesteryear. And so it should be a pretty good discussion on just how knives are made, the quality of them, our expectations of them, the amount of work it takes to put together a knife like this. So it should be a pretty good video. Hope to see you all there. All right, so I have a collection here of Hawkbill pruners. They typically are within the 4-inch range. Some can be quite large, 4.5, even larger. Some a little smaller, but usually they're around the 4-inch range, and that has been consistent over time. This one here dates to the 50s. It's a Utica Hawkbill pruner. It's called a Hawkbill because the way this blade comes over kind of sweeps down like a sheep's foot, but unlike a sheep's foot, the edge follows the blade all the way down to a point. It kind of looks like a hawkbill. Ear. That's okay. That is my hawk impersonation. Not too good, I know. Anyhow, this is an older one. If you put it up next to this one's a little bigger. It's about an eighth of an inch bigger than this one. Very old though. And this is very worn. And so you'd have a hard time believing it, but at one time this was a Hawkbill pruner. But this dates back to the middle of the 1800s. Here's another one. Same thing. Look at the wear on this knife. And so this was a Hawkbill pruner at one time. And so this is a knife that there's not a lot going on with it. You know, the main feature of the knife is a blade. It's a single-bladed jackknife. They're way back. Some, as you can see here, were rounded, and some had square ends. So this right here is about the biggest difference you see in Hawkbill pruners between round end ones and square end ones. And square end ones often had a cap on the edge here. And if you look at this, it's part of the tang. So this is actually a cap, and this is all metal right here and goes right into the cap, and then it was fitted to the side here. So the back spring is not connected to the cap. It's part of the end. Now normally this space would be taken up by a back spring, right? Rolling over, coming over, and taking the space up. But in this case, it's just a piece of metal that slipped down in there and made it a little bit more durable. You see it here on this older one. Again, the same thing. It's not connected to there, but it is connected to this cap right here. And that's the main difference between these Hawkbill pruners. Like I said, there's not a lot of variation in the size of them. This is from the 60s. Same thing. This cap is not connected to the back spring, but it is one piece and takes up this room. This is a really poor example of one. This was the one I was using out on the rose tree, pruning my dead rosebuds. So these knives are listed in Bernard Levin's book as special purpose knives, and it's a section unto itself. It's not found in the jackknife section, and it's in the section where you'll find farmer's knives, you'll find cotton samplers, physician knives, knives that had a very specific purpose in it. And the remarkable thing about that is probably nobody uses these pruners the way I was using it in the start of the video, actually pruning something. But in the 1800s, they did. And early into the 20th century, they did. But really, we don't use them for that anymore. And these knives would have faded away. But they also are just, the blade geometry on this is really useful in the trades. And so guys who hang sheetrock, roofers who are cutting roofing, carpet layers use these to lay carpet. So it's got this really fine point. You get in there and you just drag it along and you cut carpet. And I've done that. I can't tell you how many times cutting carpet out of the house. You know, just cutting along, ripping that carpet up. And it's just a really good blade geometry for working. And so that's why we still see these today, is they're really helpful in the trade. So helpful that this is an electrician's knife, and it has a Hawkbill pruner on it. And so these were put onto electrician knives, and you can see them on some electrician knives, and a lot of them don't have that. But these were used for stripping insulation off of wires. And, you know, maybe not little tiny wires that we would be familiar with, but linemen probably use this kind of tool, because the wires, of course, a lot thicker on those power poles, and just really useful. Also, you can find the single version of these with locking blades. Those are probably 20th century ones that have locking blades on them. But just a really useful tool, and it's probably not going away. So these pruners will probably be around when the barlow is long dead and gone. When barlow is a faded memory, I think people will still be using these pruners. These Hawkbill pruners, as you can see, are all, I got a lot of old ones here. This one's old, this one is old, this is from the 50s or 60s, this is from the 70s, but all of these up here are old. And here's one right here, and if you open it up, it kind of looks like a Hawkbill pruner, doesn't it? But the blade doesn't come all the way down horizontal. It kind of goes out like a sheep's foot blade, but it has that edge geometry that follows the spine of the knife around. And this is a pruner, and so there are smaller pruners, and indeed this is smaller than a if you look at it, there's quite a bit of difference between these two. And these were probably used in the garden more for what I was using it for trimming little plants and things like that. And these are actually called peach pruners, which is really ironic because there's just not a lot of peach trees in England. But that's what these were called, peach pruners. And the geometry is a little different than a hawk-eyed or a hawkbill pruner. And let me show you that if I can. Let me find one that has a decent blade on it. And yeah, you can see the difference in the blades. And so not all pruners are hawkbill pruners. There are some smaller varieties. This one in particular is called peach pruner. But Edward, hold on. An E-trick, okay, is has a similar blade to the peach pruner, but you know, those probably were primarily hunting knives, but I think people used them as pruners too in their garden. But again, it's a different blade geometry, and these are the go-to heavy-duty pruners that farmers, gardeners used in their gardens in the 1700s, and probably further back. So when you look back into antiquity, you don't see a lot of pictures of these pruners, and that's because when you get back from 1600, they were usually gravity knives and friction knives, and this type of knife probably wouldn't lend itself too well to a knife that didn't have a back spring on it. And I think the reason we don't see examples of them, we don't see writings or pictures of them, is they probably came out when the back spring came out, when it became a heavy-duty knife that could do some heavy-duty work. That's my theory. Anyhow, thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it interesting. I got some really cool knives here. One day I'll go over them. This is a Miller Brothers. It has screws in it. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool pruner here. Genuine bone. Oh yeah, most pruners had wood. But as you can see, some had stag, some had bone, some were metal. But even today, you know, most of them are in bone or synthetics now. Yeah, you don't see the bone ones very much anymore. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it informative. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks so much.